Morning, James. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning on this sunny morning in Southeast Asia. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. James, President Donald Trump has used the White House Hanukkah celebration to highlight the Israeli lobby's reduced influence as a result of U.S. public opinion, including young evangelicals increasingly questioning the perceived communality of American and Israeli national interests and turning critical of Israel's Gaza war conduct.
Indeed, Trump used the celebration to highlight the lobby's reduced influence as a result of U.S. public opinion, including young evangelicals who increasingly question the perceived commonality of American and Israeli national interests and have turned critical of Israel's Gaza war conduct. The implications of Trump's remarks could play out as soon as when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the president in Florida on Monday, as Israel becomes the litmus test of what America first means. Differences between the two men over the transition to the second stage of Trump's Gaza ceasefire plan regarding Israel's withdrawal from the Strip, the composition and mandate of an international stabilization force, and what disarmament of Hamas will entail could potentially be the writing on the wall. Trump's credibility as a self-described peacemaker rides on a successful post-war transition in Gaza.
Yes. Trump's remarks come days before an expected meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss implementation of the second phase of the president's Gaza ceasefire proposal, as well as Iran, Syria, and Lebanon.
Netanyahu will attempt to shift the ground by attempting to focus attention on Iran rather than Gaza in his meeting with Trump, aware that he can't suggest further action against Iran's nuclear program because that would undermine Trump's claim that last year's U.S. strikes liberated Iran's nuclear ambitions. Netanyahu is raising the issue of ballistic missiles. On the other hand, to make his Gaza plan work, Trump needs Netanyahu to agree to a further withdrawal from Gaza, a limited disarmament of Hamas, a peacekeeping rather than a policing mandate for the International Stabilization Force, and the formation of a Palestinian committee that administers the Strip's day-to-day affairs. That's a tall order, with Israeli Defense Minister insisting that Israel will not fully withdraw and eventually allow Israeli settlers to return to northern Gaza. As a result, the meeting with Netanyahu will be a litmus test of Trump's willingness to impose his will on Netanyahu.
Yes, indeed. The Trump-Netanyahu talks are likely to shape the Middle Eastern power pecking order with Israel, Turkey, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia competing for influence.
The outcome of the Trump-Netanyahu meeting could shape the Middle East balance of power, with Arab and Muslim countries reluctant to contribute to the stabilization force without Israel conceding. The position of the Gulf states, as well as Egypt, would be significantly strengthened if Trump strong-arms Netanyahu. Turkey is likely to be a significant flashpoint. Turkey has played an important role in ensuring that Hamas agrees to a disarmament and accepts the presence of the stabilization force in Gaza. Israel has vetoed Turkey's participation because of its support for Hamas. Its presence in the force would also strengthen Turkey's position in Syria, with Israel and Turkey at odds about what Syria's future should look like.
Russia and Israel share a common problem. Much of the international community views them as regional brutes and occupiers of others' people's land. So to address the problem, both use FOB to gain lost ground in their information wars. In sports, the difference is that Russia is gaining ground, Israel isn't.
The reason that Russia is gaining ground is that it plays offense, while Israel, unlike in kinetic battlefields, plays defense, attempting to taint its detractors as anti-Semites. Granted, Russia and Israel are fighting different battles. Russia is attempting to roll back sports boycotts, while Israel is seeking to prevent the imposition of sanctions and is banking on the international sports community's double standards. Russia has advanced significantly in fighting sanctions, while Israel at best has prevented worse from happening in a world in which sports is a theater in a war to win hearts and minds, garner support of significant segments of the international community, and boost morale at home. At the end of the day, Israel's future in international sports is likely to come at a price determined by whether Trump successfully pressures Netanyahu to make the concessions necessary for the implementation of the second phase of his Gaza ceasefire plan.
Yes, indeed, interesting developments on different fronts. Thank you, James. We appreciate your time.
As always, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Listeners can subscribe to James' newsletter blog, The Turbulent World of Middle East Soccer. You can check some of James Dorsey's articles on the website, jamesdorsey.subtract.com. That is our weekly edition of the Middle East Report.